Hello, welcome to On My Head, son. I hope you're well. This is a reaction to West Ham against Brentford last Monday night. In all fairness, it's taken me a couple of days to make this video. One of the things I've been working non-stop, but also I've been so angry that I wanted to just simmer down a little bit, and I wanted to address a few things in this video about the game, but also about things that have been happening in the media, talking about West Ham and everything like that. So let me just sort of start right from the very start and let me know what you think in the comments. I might do a couple of live shows this week as well, so if you want to join for those and come and let us know in real time, that'd be great as well. So let's just talk about the boycott of the game. I didn't go because I wanted to boycott the game. I wanted to take a stand. And I've been saying this for a long time that I want these owners out and I want things to change. It's a total mismanagement of the club for 15 years that is caused this whole problem with the club, about the move, about the stadium. But it's not a stadium in isolation. It's obviously about the way we're playing and the group of players that we've got and the kind of managers that we employ in the football, right? So the boycott for me was an opportunity for fans en masse to show and give the media something to latch onto and say there's physically evidence here that all the fan base are not going now, and they're protesting against the board because they want the board out, right? Now, what I saw when I was watching the game, there were definitely pockets of seats that weren't taken because they're white seats, it's obvious to see. You know, this is a little footnote for West Ham, really. If this happens again, and you don't want the TV cameras to pick up that, they're empty seats, you should have claret seats there. Basically, you should have claret seats, but I've just given the game away, really. Look, I was never saying against any fan that they should not boycott, that they shouldn't go to the game. And I've heard some fans being called scabs and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it's just ridiculous, really. And I would never do that. But I was really surprised at the number of fans who actually went. I was really surprised. Now, I think I made a comment somewhere. I was like, I can't really tell because you couldn't really tell for the upper tiers how many people were there. And if you were there, let us know on the upper tiers how many people were there. And I've heard that it was around about 40,000 fans, whatever, that actually attended. So that means around about 60-odd thousand, about 20-odd thousand, just under 20,000 that didn't go. Okay, so if we're taking it as an optic, a third of the fans protested or boycotted the game. The thing is, if you're going to boycott the game, then you should not release your ticket at all. So your ticket you should not release. And if you're going to buy extra tickets, then you shouldn't be giving them away. So I was hearing lots of, before the game, that lots of people were boycotting. They were buying loads of tickets and, all this kind of stuff. Well, I don't know what the hell happened, but I don't know what the club has done apart from giving away cheap tickets. But I was trying to pick out where I normally stand actually, by the corner flag. And I've got a pretty good idea that people were in my area. And they were stood where I was. Now, whether fans have just naturally migrated there or they've been pushed there, whatever, to fill out the lower tier as much as possible, I don't know. But it just didn't look like a unified protest to me. It didn't look like that there was fans en masse, even if it's just the Bobby Moore lower, Billy Bond stand and the Trevor Brookings stand. It didn't look from that optic, from TV point of view, that there was a mass protest, as a mass boycott, right? But overall, it might have been. We might see 20,000, so it's not a bad turnout. But I'm just wondering what people feel that they went to the game, that they decided to support the team, and we always support the team. It's got nothing to do with not supporting the team. It's about protesting about the board, about the mismanagement of this club, about the ownership, about David Sullivan, about the role of Karen Brady, about, all the board members for my liking. It's how the whole club is structured, right? And what do you feel about the game that you had to witness, the performance that you had to witness? I mean, how do you feel about it? I mean, because I know what I felt as I was, and I'll get on to what I felt about the actual game. But at least I wasn't there. It's a weird feeling because at least I wasn't there, and I was taking a stand and boycotted for my own principles. That's a personal thing, and I would never say to anybody else, "You've got to do what I do." And that's why I totally disagree with attacking other fans or criticising other fans for going. All right, so I want to make that perfectly clear. But how do you feel that you went there and you saw that? All right. So did you support in the way that the media is saying that you should be supporting the team and they need you? But if you're going there and supporting, whether you support from afar, and I've always said this, whether you support from afar or actually go to the games, it's what the players do on the pitch. We can only do so much, right? So that's that. I didn't think the optic, as I say in inverted commas, the impact of the boycott for me visually wasn't there. So I think that gives the media something to criticise even the protest about. And so that's what I mean. It starts picking holes a little bit. So media, this is what I always say about the media, and I've said this repeatedly. 1 minute they'll be in your favour, the next minute they'll be against you, and we've seen it time and time again. But I have to repeat it because we saw it straight away after the game. We saw commentators, let's say, and pundits on Sky Sports and TalkSport totally understanding, totally favour of what West Ham fans are doing and why they're upset and why they're protesting and all that sort of stuff. And they say it's all about the board, it's all about the ownership, it's all about the mismanagement of the club. The very next morning, they go coming on the very same channels and they're talking to West Ham fans and they're criticising the fans for not supporting. You should be supporting the team. This is when they need you the most. And then they're saying, oh, the stadium isn't that bad and all this kind of stuff. Let me talk about the stadium, right? Let me talk about this stadium and the prospective new owners that could come in. Because we want the board, ultimately, we want the ownership to change. And we want the management of the club to completely change. Right? I can never see David Sullivan, Karen Brainey stepping back and just handing it over to some kind of CEO, right? And say, right, you just take control of the club. We'll be the board behind, but you just take control. And I just can't see that happen because they're narcissistic megalomaniacs, right? So, if that happens, great. Okay, well, let's see how far we get with that. But it's really a change of ownership, right? So let's just talk about the ownership and the stadium for itself, right? And prospective new owner. In my opinion, this is only my opinion, and I have to sort of label this as just an opinion, and I don't have inside information, right? But it's my impression, I should say, that the ownership of West Ham, my club, your club, right? Because I believe that fans, we don't own the club. It's not our club in terms of a tangible asset, right? But what we own the spirit of the club. We own the community of the club. We own the legacy of the club. We own the future of the club. So when we talk about fans, it's our club. It's because we, as a collective, as a hive mind, as a community of fans, we own this club for the past, the present, and the future. Owners only own it for now, and they only own it for a few years, let's say. They don't own that legacy. And fans pass it from father to son, father to daughter, mother to son, mother to daughter. It's passed through the generations. And owners don't have that. They are custodians. Owners are only custodians for a short period. They don't own it. We, the fans, own it. But we don't own a tangible thing. We don't own something to say, that brick and mortar is mine. What the owners have done, the owners, Sullivan, Gold before, right? And the rest of the board members have got shares in it as well. And the input of Karen Brady over the years, right? What they've done, they've stripped West Ham of assets. They've stripped us of assets. So the only asset that West Ham have, we don't have a football stadium. It's not a physical asset. In terms of business, I'm going to talk on the business side. In terms of business, we do not have a physical asset. Now, a football stadium is a bit of a weird real estate in terms of that, because you can only earn money in most cases on football days. So you earn from ticket sales, you earn from concessions, beers and chocolates and burgers and all that sort of stuff, right? So you can earn on the day. Now, if you're some kind of better businessman in terms of owning a stadium, you will try and make money from that stadium on other days when it's not playing football. So what are we talking about? We're talking about concerts. We're talking about some kind of public events where you can rent out the stadium. There are other parts of the stadium, let's say conference rooms, that kind of thing. You can just rent it out for business conferences. You can rent it out for weddings. You could, all sorts of stuff, right? So there are many ways of earning money from a football stadium, from that real estate, but most of it comes from football. And you can't really sell it for anything else other than being a football stadium. The only thing you can do is sell the land and sell it to knock it down, right? And that's exactly what they've done. They've sold an asset that, yes, costs money to run, but also it's their only asset. It's the only asset the West Ham United Football Club had, right? In real terms, in terms of real estate. And it was a land grab. They've earned the money. They've sold the money. Where's that money gone? Big investigation for my part, right? I would say, well, follow the money. Who benefited from that? And we know who benefited from that, right? And then we've gone into an area, a stadium, which we don't own. A long lease, yeah, £2.5 million, £3 million a year. Can't get money from concessions. Limited income on tickets, on game day tickets, or also, season tickets. So you've gone from owning an asset and the potential to earn all the money from that asset to not having any assets, and then you're getting limited income from that, and you're restricted in what you can do into a stadium that nobody likes because it's not a football stadium. That's the problem. It's not a football stadium. So you haven't addressed that. Now how does that, and we've got to talk about the whole emotion about moving and the ripping the heart out of the community and all that kind of stuff, which I totally disagreed with, right? So what the media keep on failing to understand, and they do this all the time, and it infuriates me. This is why it takes me a couple of days to make a video, because I'm just so angry, right? Is that they just look at the here and now. Oh, what do you expect? What do you want? They don't understand, and they won't be told that it's 15 years of mismanagement that's led to this. And, why are you protesting? What you done? Because they don't understand, because fans need to stand up and they need to voice and they need to show everybody that this is wrong. What do you expect with the stadium? Whatever. It's a great stadium. It's fantastic. No, what you don't understand, that it was never designed as a football stadium. It's never a football stadium. And there are so many false promises made about going to that stadium and then even being in that stadium, and this total dismissal of the fan opinion and the fan experience all the way through. Oh, what do you expect? What do you expect? What we expect is for the club to be managed properly, and for us to be treated like fans, and to ensure that the fan experience is sacrosanct. That it is what everything is about. It's about providing football entertainment for fans to enjoy and to rally behind and to get behind. It doesn't mean that fans have to be delivered results. It doesn't have to, we're Champions League football. But if you promise that, because that's the selling point, that's a USP for going over there, then you have to deliver. And if you don't deliver, you have to be held accountable. But as soon as we want to hold you accountable, everybody starts criticising us, from within the club, from surrounding the club, and also the media. Okay, let's just talk about the stadium itself. Okay, can it be changed? I'm of the opinion that the overall structure of the stadium potentially, because I've kind of looked at this in as much detail as anybody can, right? I've looked at it and I think, right, okay, can it be changed within, structurally changed within, not the structure of the stadium, but the structure of the seating to change it? And I've got a strong feeling that it can. I'm no engineer, right? I don't know, but I'm looking at it and thinking, well, if you've got already false seating everywhere, and you could change areas and potentially try and push for, safe standing and all this sort of stuff, and maybe different areas that you could, bring it in. And there's got to be a way to force the owners of the stadium to make changes. But the club don't want to do it. That's the thing. They haven't pushed hard enough. They haven't listened hard enough to get this stadium changed, in any kind of capacity, right? So that's the problem. The problem is that the club the owners have been totally gutless in trying to rectify any kind of issue, to make it a halfway decent fan experience. In fact, they've made very small changes to the fan experience. If that's why the whole impression of the club is completely wrong, let alone the way they try and sell tickets to any man and his dog to go there. So the whole fan base is diluted. And because of this repeated cycle of mismanagement of the club, of the way fans are treated, and also, let's not forget, the way the team has been supported and the way the team has been driven in terms of ambition, in terms of direction, in terms of style of football. That's why so many fans have walked away and been replaced by other fans who are just not, they don't have that fight in them. Perhaps. I don't know. You tell me. Maybe there are. But I know when I go to a game that I am hopping mad when I'm there, and I'm there right to the very last second to hold these fuckers to account. All of them, not just the players. It's the whole setup. I believe that the stadium can be changed, right? At least improved a little bit, but it really stems now from what happens on the pitch. So the owners are just repeatedly failing. So I go back to the assets, strip the assets of the club. We've got nothing. We've got the training ground. That's it. So the valuation, the overvaluation of the club is based upon Sullivan thinking, this club's worth 800 million, a billion, right? It's not based upon physical assets, because we don't own any. Rush Green yet, Shelbourne Heath yet. That's limited assets, right? And those are underfunded assets in terms of training facilities. They're just totally underfunded. We don't have a physical asset, so in terms of a ground, a stadium. So we have a burden there that, granted, it may not be as much as owning a stadium, but it's a burden in terms that you're locked into a 99-year lease, or what it might be a 90-year lease now, whatever. So you've got a problem there. So the only asset that the club have is a depreciating asset of a poorly assembled squad. They've bought high, sold low. They cannot get good players in. So you're paying off managers because they just can't do the job. You're selling players low. You're trying to get rid of players because they're just rubbish in the first place. So you've got a group of players there that are just never going to be able to deliver. Never going to be able to deliver any kind of consistent football, good performances, and with the hope, with the ambition of trying to get results. Never going to be happening. Even under Moyes, it was never going to happen. There were so many things that he was fighting behind the scenes. What the media's constantly throw into West Ham faces is to say that, be careful what you wish for, you got rid of Moyes out. The problem, what they failed to realise, is that Moyes was playing a kind of football that for a short period worked in terms of results, but it never delivered performances, or very rarely delivered great performances, entertaining football. So it was always a frustration. Then the domestic football, the league football, was terrible. Although we had 3 years of European football, the one year in the middle, we actually won the Conference League. The domestic football was rubbish in terms of performance and also in terms of results. And the following year, he got to ninth, but it was still really, really poor. So then it was right to want to have the ambition as fans to get somebody better, we pleading with the owners to get somebody else in and to reinforce and to support a new manager and a new way and a new ambitious way of playing football. But that didn't happen. So you can't blame the fans for wanting a change, but it wasn't delivered. The change for better, the change for ambition, the change to step on and go to the next step, it wasn't delivered. We thank David Moyes for what he did. Fantastic achievement. The first couple of seasons, in the league, fantastic. 6th or 7th. The 4th season, 9th. Okay, fine, but it was respectable. But the style of football, the really poor finish in the 3rd season, the style of football was the substitutions, the manner in which he was playing, the kind of inactivity on the touchline. That had to be held accountable. They don't see it. They won't want to see it because the fans are always at fault. So we don't have any assets. So this is what I want to now come on to, the ownership of the club. Who can we attract that's going to want to buy this club? The problem is, because of the mentality of the ownership of our club, Sullivan, Brady, the board, they've overvalued it. They've overvalued it. It's not based upon assets. It's based upon potential income. And they've borrowed money, millions, over that. And it's all based upon staying in the Premier League. But what they failed to realise, the only way of staying in the Premier League is to spend money wisely and create a good squad of players that can compete on a weekly basis. What we've done is anything but that. We've asset stripped even the squad, and we don't have a squad that can compete on a regular basis. That's why we're in a really bad position. Last season and this season, it's got started off even worse. And every other team, as far as I can see, the way I've seen them play, plays better than us. So therefore, we're a shoo-in to go down. So any new owner coming in is going to think, well, the value of the club is way overvalued. There's a real risk that the potential earnings, what this value is based upon, is going to disappear. Yes, they've got parachute payments. Yes, there's a little bit of money in the Championship. Yes, that potentially there's still a fan base there that will still want to come and support. But the problem is that a lot of that revenue from fan support is going to totally disappear when it's not going to come to us anyway because it's in a rented stadium. So that's gonna scare away any kind of potential investor because they can say, hold on, this is a bad investment. Regardless of what kind of thoughts I have as wanting to own West Ham United, it's a bad investment at what it's currently valued. Now, if let's just say that Sullivan and the board say, do you know what, we will sell up and we're going to sell up, I don't know. Let me just say a ridiculous figure in terms of football terms. Let's just say 200 million, 300 million, whatever. Maybe 100 million, whatever. All of a sudden, that attracts a lot of investors because they say, okay, we've got investors here, but there's no assets. So they need to try and develop assets. And that's the problem. They need to come in, buy a club at cheap, relatively cheap. They need to now invest millions and millions and millions into developing a squad that can compete either from a relegated position to get back into the Premier League or stay within the Premier League to generate those potential future earnings so that you can increase. And you need to keep on reinforcing and re-energizing that squad just to keep that going. That takes millions and millions and millions, right? Then you need to, as a prospective owner, to say, right, we need to overall fix the infrastructure and the structure of the club. So this is just a club. Again, these are not assets. Okay, but you got to think about it. This is new owners having to spend millions and millions and millions on non-fixed assets, right? So they're making a loss. They're making a huge loss just to invest, and they're thinking the investment of the future, right? So now what they can do, they're going to talk about investing in the training facilities, Rush Green, Chadwell Heath. You know, they're thinking about, right, we need to make this system better. We need to invest in the personnel. We need to invest in the overall running of the club, the structure of the club, the scouting system, the academy. We need to invest so much. It's going to take millions and millions. So there, let's just say they invested 253. Let's just say 300 million, right? It will probably take another 500-600 million, maybe $1 billion, just of investment in non-tangible assets, just to stabilise the club, just to get it on a foothold where it, from a relegated position, can get back up to the Premier League, or if it manages to stay in the Premier League, then it can build for a future. Okay, let's just talk about the stadium. Any new owner coming into West Ham is going to be put off because there isn't a physical asset to buy. There's no land to buy or anything. So the only way a new owner can come in is either to project in the future, the next 15, 20 years, okay, we may need to look at the relationship between the London Stadium and the owners of the London Stadium and the London Mayor and the London Assembly. We need to look about a relationship there. Either we can do a deal or try and do a deal where we can buy that asset and spin it off as though we've got to save the taxpayer £20 million a year. We'll come in and we'll buy it for 100 million, 200 million, whatever it is, and then we'll take it off your hands, right? Either spin it like that, but that might take a long time to work out, or they say, right, we're never going to get out of this lease. They need to find some kind of legal situation where we can get out of this situation, and we've got to look at another area to build our own stadium, right? I think it's a lot less likely to be able to go somewhere else and find land, get planning permission, look at the local environment as well, look at the local inhabitants, people, what they think, should they have a stadium there as well, because there's always going to be a knock-on effect in terms of traffic, in terms of, all that sort of stuff, right? So it's whether they even be able to find land, buy the land for a reasonable price, get planning permission, which is going to be a massive hurdle, and then the expense of building a stadium. So the building a stadium, depending on where it is, that whole process could be £1 billion. It depends. It depends how much it is. Now, the likes of Simon Jordan saying 2 billion, 3 billion. Oh, you don't know, I know. Fuck Simon Jordan, because he's never built a stadium. He doesn't know. He knows as much as I do about it. I know about land prices. Anybody can figure this out. It might take £1 billion, but it won't take 2 or 3 billion, because you can build just a standard stadium. But it's about land prices, about, the cost of building and everything like that. So it could be a few hundred million, certainly. It could be £1 billion, but more than that, you don't have to spend more than that. But I think it's much more likely that a new ownership is going to want to come in and buy low, relatively low, about 300 million for the club. But they're not buying any assets, really, right? And they're going to want to try and do a deal with the stadium owners to buy the land and to buy the stadium. And then potentially look at redeveloping the site or redeveloping the stadium, whatever. Our only hope is that a new owner can come in and want to try and position themselves in good favour with the owners of the stadium and within West Ham current ownership to buy them out and to say, we're going to do it. And they're the kind of owners who are going to want to talk to us, the spirit of West Ham, the ownership of the past, present and future, in terms of the legacy, in terms of the community, and come with honesty and come with ambition and say, look, and give us a roadmap of what potentially could happen. So we're going to try our best to do what we can do. Come with honesty. I'd rather have somebody be honest with me and say, look, this is what we need. This is what we have to do, right? We're going to have to invest in the team, the squad. We're going to have to invest heavily here in the training facilities. We're going to have to invest heavily in the structure of the club in terms of the whole management of the club and the way it's run from a daily basis, everything like that. Then we're also going to have to invest heavily in potential future assets of the club in terms of stadium, in terms of the community, in terms of the fan experience. Whichever way it goes, in terms of moving away from the London Stadium and, in 15 years, building a new stadium, or trying to buy the stadium and then just gradually trying to redevelop it, or spending millions with the owners to say we need to change the seating here, we need to spend 10, 15 million, whatever. If it's 10, 15 million, 20 million to change the seating or change the redesign of it and make it a better viewing experience, and even if you reduce the capacity of the London Stadium, I think most people would accept that. Most people would accept that, to say, look, this is a decent way to go. If you can improve that and show the fan base that at least you're trying to work with us and trying to do something, most fans would be on your side. In fact, I would imagine that most fans, or every fan, would be on your side. This is the failing of the current ownership, because they have never done any of this. This is what has caused the problem. But media will never understand it, because they only think about now. Oh, you've got to go and support your team. They need you now. There's nothing wrong with the stadium. They know absolutely fuck all about what goes on and what the problems are. So look, to jump on a fan and say, it's ridiculous that you want a new stadium. We're not saying they want a new stadium now, but we need something in the future for new owners to come in and look at what we can do as a club and bring back assets to the club. Because you can't rely on being in the Premier League, and you certainly can't rely on being in the Premier League when you've been asset stripping the squad for years and years and years and replacing it with poor assets. High value assets, replacing it with poor value assets. It's not good. Buying high, selling low. It's not a way to run a business. Selling physical assets and going into rented assets. It's not even assets. Get rid of fixed assets and having no assets. That's just asset stripping. That's pure and simple. That's asset stripping. Taking a physical asset and selling it for for a land deal, for a property deal, for real estate. That's something that we all should have raised our eyebrows about for a long, long time. What the hell's going on? And there are investigations into this and all that sort of stuff. So because of all this, we get to a situation where we are at Brentford on Monday night, or Brentford come to us on Monday night, where you have a group of players that just have this malaise about them. There's just no fight in them. There's just nothing there. Regardless of whether the fans are there or not, regardless of what's going on in terms of whether, we support the team, we support the club, but the actual players on the pitch need to deliver. They don't. Nuno Espirito Santo, right? It's gone in. I've said I like the way he talks, but he's got to deliver, right? But I've said right from the very start here, and if you can go back in my videos, you can watch this, and this is a long video, and it's not meant to be, and all that sort of stuff. But look, I said right at the very start that Nuno Espirito Santo, what I call him, Nuno, I don't call him Nuno, I call him Nessie, right? Nessie, because his successful football is going to be as elusive as the Loch Ness Monster. That's what I call him, Nessie, right? N-E-S, Ness. For him to be successful, he needs a group of players that can even support what he wants to do. But because of what I've just been talking about for the last fucking half an hour, in terms of asset stripping of the squad and not reinforcing the squad with good assets, right? With good players, then he hasn't got the players to be able to achieve anything that even he wants to achieve. Now, regardless of what you thought of Potter, I didn't rate him. Regardless of what you thought of Lopetegui, I didn't rate him. And I said that at the time, repeatedly said it. They didn't have the players. They still don't have the players to get. Buying players are just not working. And then, Sullivan Comes out right at the end of the transfer window. So, we need to buy these players. Goes out quickly, buys Fernandes, buys Magassa. We got Callum Wilson in. And scattergun approach to just buying players. Yeah, we've got to get them. Overpaying for them. They're crap. Although, it's too early to tell whether they're going to be crap or not, but they haven't really impressed. So, you've got players there that can't work for Nuno. And, fans are saying, oh, wow, in January, we can get his own players in. No, fuck that. It'll be too late. It'll be too late by then. The performance they delivered on Monday was, it's not what I hoped. It's not even in my wildest dreams what I wished for. But it's what I fucking expected. It's what I expected. There was a lot of hope out there from fans saying, yeah, we're going to beat Brentford. Yeah, we can beat Leeds. Yeah, we can get a result against Newcastle. Yeah, we could definitely beat Burnley. I'm telling you that what we're seeing is the expectation right now. This is what the level we're at, that every other team is better than us. On the opening day of the season, I saw Man City against Wolves, and Wolves got spanked 4-0. But I tell you what, Wolves were playing some decent football, and they had opportunities. Sven Larsson, whatever his name is, striker, had about 3 or 4 opportunities. He was really close. They didn't score, really close. And I thought, you know what? They might lose, but they're not that bad. They're not that bad, actually. They're trying to play some decent football. And I've looked quite a few other teams, in and around us, right? Because this is what we've got to say now. West Ham, in and around us at the bottom of the table. I've looked at them, I think, they're not that bad, actually. They're trying. They're trying. They're going forward. They're trying to create chances and everything like that. So I compare those teams that are in and around us, right, to West Ham. We don't have any of that. We are crap in defence. We are crap in midfield. And we are non-existent up front. So if we're letting in goals and can't score goals, that's it. So then we come to tactics, right? If you go 1-0 down and you are not putting on any kind of strikers, you're just reinforcing that with defenders, because we can't let any more goals in, you're going to lose the game anyway. You're going to lose the game anyway, because you've got nothing going forward. So Nuno doesn't have the players, I believe, to be successful. And it's going to take a long, long time for him to get anything out of these players. I say it's a miracle. It'll be a miracle if we get out of this, right? It'll be a miracle if we get any results against Leeds, Newcastle, Burnley. It'll be a miracle for me. But hope springs eternal, right? But the decisions he made in the starting lineup beggars belief. What are you thinking? What are you doing? You're taking out Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Okay, fine. That's your decision. You want to take him out, but put a right-sided player there, or somebody who could play right-sided, who has already played this season and has done pretty well. Kyle Walker-Peters, stick him in there. But no, you stick him on the left. I know he can play there, but he doesn't need to be there because Ollie Scholes should be there. And you've put Ollie Scholes in there because you don't have faith in Juve. Defensively, okay, I can see that, not having Juve. Then put Ollie Scholes in where he plays his position. Why are you swapping over? You put Todibo in, he's been a right tosser ever since he's been there. Mavropanos, is on the bench. I'm not sure that. And he totally undelivered. Kilman, again, rubbish. Areola, he did all right. He made a couple of decent saves. He did all right for me. But, we know what Areola is. But he's the best we got. Midfield. Irving. Souček. We've gone back to slow, no pace in midfield. Nothing there at all. Regardless of what you think of Magassa just coming in, he has to find his feet. Yeah, at least he had more energy. Potts, he had something in there. I would have understood Souček in with Magassa, Souček in with Potts. Something like that. I would have understood Irving with Fernandes, Irving with Magassa. I don't know, whatever. Another, but not that combination. No. And then why you're putting Paqueta up front? This has been tried time and time again, about 3 or 4 times, and it's failed every single time. That's not his position. Stick him, bring him deeper. That's where he thrives. if he's allowed to try, because he's so inconsistent. Bowen on the right, yeah, bless him. Somerville on the left. At least he was trying. At least he was getting pissed off about, things not coming off. But so many of those, they all underperformed. They were all poor. They were all rubbish. Defensively crap. Midfield non-existent. Bowen really wasn't in the game at all and didn't really... I could go on and on about Bowen. Somerville... Why aren't you starting with a striker? Why aren't you putting on Callum Wilson at any stage? What have you seen that it's not worth the $100,000 a week that you have to pay him for any appearance? Then why have we got him? This again comes down to poor management of the club. So he's come in, and I've said this when he first came in. He's come in and he's thinking, "Fucking hell, what have I just found here?" But hold on a minute, you should do your due diligence as a manager or prospective manager to know what you're going into as well. Oh yeah, I can get these group of players in. You should have said, hold on a minute, this group of players are just a shit show. I'm not sure I really want to go into this club. I don't know what Nuno Nessie's on. I don't know what he's on in terms of money, but it better be a lot of money to turn this around. It's going to be a miracle. I don't think he can do it. I personally don't think he can do it. The group of players that we've got, the energy, there's no energy, there's no appetite in there, there's no aggression, there's no tackles going in, there's nothing. You get a middle-aged bold bloke just standing in the near the corner flag at a game, screaming at them, saying, "Where's the leaders? Where's the generals? Where's the fight? Come on, where is it?" It's not there. It's just not there. There are so many things that presented themselves on Monday night, and there's a background to this. There's a reason for this. And the reason is 15 years of mismanagement of this club. 15 years where we, as a fan base, as the heart and soul of this club, as the past, the present, the future, the soul, the spirit, the community of this club, the fan base, who we own this, right? But we don't own that. And what the owners have got to do is do their job. And they haven't done it. And they've created a system, created a problem where the team are just, the squad is just not good enough. They're not good enough. The players are just not good enough. They're not consistent enough. Even if they have potential to be Premier League players, they're just not delivering on a regular basis. They're nowhere near being consistent enough. They're nowhere near consistent enough and being just delivering a fight and delivering a competitive performance. Nessie, Nuno, whatever you want to fucking call him, he was saying they've got to be competitive. It's now. They haven't competed. They haven't competed. Against Everton, there was a bump, yeah. But Arsenal, there wasn't much of a competition. They stood the ground as best they could, but this was nothing. There was nothing there. And to put it on the fans, well, the ones that stood away or the ones that went there, you're being criticised as well for not being vocal enough. You're just being flat and everything. The ones that didn't go are being criticised for not going there and supporting. Either way, it's the fans' fault. No, it's not the fans' fault. Fuck you for even thinking that. It's not the fans' fault. I'll tell you what is the fault. It's the fault of the whole structure and the ownership of West Ham that's caused a problem where the squad of players are just not good enough, and no manager has been able to come in and sort it out, and there's no ambition to improve anything. It's been asset stripped. This club has been asset stripped from fixed assets, from tangible assets to intangible assets and player and squad assets. It's been asset stripped. And this is the reason we are fucked. We are fucked. Completely. 100% fucked. And even if there's a miracle that we stay up, we are fucked still. Because unless they fix this whole problem, which they're never going to do, right? If they fix this whole problem, which I've talked about, we're not going to get prospective owners because they're thinking this is just stay away from that mess. It's too overvalued. It's rubbish. Forget it. Just stay away from it, right? And, it's just going to be, I say, no new owner's going to come in. The current owners are just going to keep on asset stripping. They don't care about developing this and making it better. It's going to take a miracle to survive this season, and it will take another miracle to compete next season. And I tell you what, if Nessie is that miracle worker, I will doff my hat to you and say, fair play to you, son. Fair play. You've done it. But with this group of players, what they keep on delivering, because you can only go on what they've delivered, not what they potentially can deliver, right? And granted, we don't see what goes on in the training pitch. We don't see what goes on in their private meetings. We don't know what frustrations they're having. We don't know what slanging matches they're having at half-time or after the game with each other. We don't know what's happening. All we can see is what's going on the pitch. And the pitch it's dead. There's nothing there. You could talk about captain's role, Bowen. You could talk about individual players. You can talk about Paqueta. You can talk about defence. You can talk about goalkeeping. You can talk about successive coaches, head coaches. You can talk, but it's dead. It's dead all over. And then you expect us as fans, as the spirit of this club, the past, present and future, the community of this club, to support that, to go along with that without protest, without saying something, without standing up and being counted. You expect us to not do anything? Are you insane? Or do you just love the sound of your own voices? So as far as I'm concerned, that's exactly what I'm hearing. They love the sound of their own voices. Anybody who criticises the fans, and this is the fans of any club, right? Not just West Ham. You criticise the fans, you're on very shaky ground because you're criticising from a position of ignorance. And you do not understand. As a West Ham fan, not fans, this West Ham fan, I've never expected us to be a world-class team. I've never expected us to be challenging for the title. I've never expected us to be winning trophies every season. Fuck's sake, I've had a lifetime of supporting West Ham. I'm not that deluded. All right? Even when we win something, I'm not that deluded to think we can win every season, right? When we won the Conference League, it brought a tear to my eyes. My son brought a tear to my eye that we won something. I haven't won something since I was 10 years old, to 1980. We haven't won. We're not a winning club, but it's to bring something, to deliver something where at least we're trying to compete. At least we're trying to go deep into cup competitions. At least we're trying to deliver a fan experience, and all of that has just fucking gone. It's gone. And the road to recovery is going to be a long one with a new owner. With the current owners, there is no road. It's just void. It's just death. It's death. On the pitch, everywhere else. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Sorry about the rant. This is what I believe in. This is what I believe in. I believe in us, the community, the spirit of the club. I don't believe in the owners. I don't believe in the management of this club. I don't believe in the structure of the club. And I don't believe that we, as a fan base, can do anything other than wish that Nessie can get this group of players to come together and to deliver. And if any players are listening to this, which they won't, if Nessie is listening to this, if the coaches are listening to this, understand what we want from you at the bare minimum, what we want from you, regardless of what we support you. We want you to do well. We urge you to do well. We want you to fight for us. We want you to deliver. Our fight is not with you. Our fight is with them. But we need you to show us something, to give us something where we're going to want to keep on fighting for you as well. You need to do more. They need to do their job. They need to fuck off. But they need to do their job whilst they're there, which they haven't done. You need to do your job. And we'll try and support you as best we can. But you've got to do something. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Catch you again. Bye now.